If I'm not back in 20 minutes, call me. If I don't answer, just stay with Noah. That was how Ryan Carter, the quiet single dad next door who had spoken maybe 40 words to me in 11 months, ended up standing on my porch at 11:47 on a Thursday night with his 6-year-old son asleep in his arms. I stared at him, then at Noah, then back at him. Okay, I said intelligently. That sounded incredibly normal and not terrifying at all. Ryan didn't smile. That was when my stomach dropped. Rain hammered the awning above us, turning the street behind him into a watercolor of black asphalt and yellow porch lights. Ryan's dark hair was soaked against his forehead. His gray t-shirt clung to his shoulders, and he was breathing like he'd run here despite living approximately 12 steps away. I knew because I had counted, not in a creepy way. Probably. Ryan and Noah had moved into the little blue house next door last fall. Since then, I'd learned exactly 5 things about Ryan Carter. 1. He woke up obscenely early. 2. He drank his coffee black. 3. He could fix basically anything. 4. He almost never smiled unless Noah was involved. 5. He was unfairly attractive for a man who communicated primarily through nods. Our relationship consisted of riveting conversations like, "Morning, your package came to my house," and one unforgettable Tuesday when he'd said, "Storm coming." I thought about that for 3 days. So Ryan showing up at midnight asking for help was roughly equivalent to a lighthouse knocking on your door and admitting it was afraid of the dark. "What happened?" I asked. His jaw tightened. "I have to go somewhere." Yeah, I gathered that from the dramatic rain entrance. Normally, that might have earned me the faint twitch at the corner of his mouth. Nothing. Instead, Ryan shifted Noah higher against his chest. The kid was completely unconscious, cheek pressed to his father's shoulder, one small fist tangled in Ryan's shirt. Something in Ryan's expression changed when he looked down at him. Softened, then broke for half a second. So quickly I almost convinced myself I hadn't seen it. "Can you stay with him?" The question came quietly. "Not watch him. Stay with him." I stopped joking. Of course. Ryan exhaled like he'd been holding his breath since before he knocked. He stepped inside and carefully transferred Noah into my arms. I had exactly 0 experience receiving sleeping children, so my entire body locked like someone had handed me an unexploded bomb. "Head," Ryan murmured. "I know children have those." "Support his head, Ethan." "Right." "Yes." Obviously. Ryan's hand slid beneath mine, repositioning it behind Noah's neck. For one stupid second, our fingers touched. Warm. Steady. Then Ryan pulled away. This was absolutely not the moment to notice his hands. My brain, unfortunately, had never respected timing. Ryan reached into his pocket and pressed a key into my palm. His house key. If he wakes up, he'll probably want his dinosaur blanket. It's on his bed. Water bottles in the fridge. He doesn't like the hallway completely dark. "Ryan." His eyes met mine. "You can tell me what's happening." Silence. Rain rattled against the windows. For the first time since I'd known him, Ryan looked less like the composed father who always had snacks packed and shoelaces tied, and more like a man holding himself together with whatever he had left. "I can't," he said. Not "I won't." Can't. That distinction scared me more. He looked at Noah one last time, brushing 2 fingers through his son's messy brown hair. Then, unexpectedly, his gaze shifted to me. "Thank you. 20 minutes, I said, trying to make my voice lighter. 30 if you're buying me coffee." This time his mouth almost moved. Almost. Then he turned and disappeared into the rain. I stood in my doorway holding his sleeping son, his house key digging into my palm, watching Ryan's truck vanish at the end of the street. 20 minutes passed. Then 40. At 12:51, I called him. Straight to voicemail. At 1:26, I called again. Nothing. Noah stirred against me and whispered something about dinosaurs before settling again. By 1:43, I had stopped telling myself Ryan was simply running late. I carried Noah across the wet lawn and unlocked the blue house next door. The moment the door opened, I froze. I had expected toys, laundry, single dad chaos. Instead, everything was painfully organized. Shoes lined beneath the bench. Noah's school calendar covered in Ryan's precise handwriting. Tomorrow's lunch already packed inside the refrigerator. It didn't look like the home of a man who had rushed out unexpectedly. It looked like the home of a man who had prepared everything in case he didn't come back. And suddenly, those 20 minutes felt very, very far away. At 2:07 a.m., Noah woke up and asked the one question I was spectacularly unqualified to answer. Where's Dad? I stood in Ryan's kitchen holding a glass of water like it contained legal advice. He's out. Excellent, Ethan. Very reassuring. Noah sat on the couch wrapped in a navy blanket covered with tiny green dinosaurs. His brown hair stuck up on one side, and his sleepy blue eyes followed me with an uncomfortable amount of intelligence for someone who still believed ketchup counted as a vegetable. When is he coming back? Soon. Hopefully. Probably. Please, universe. I checked my phone again. Nothing. 3 calls. 2 texts. 0 responses. Ryan had officially upgraded himself from mysteriously late to actively destroying my nervous system. Did he go to the hospital? Noah asked. My thumb stopped over the screen. I looked at him. Why would you ask that? Noah shrugged and pulled the blanket beneath his chin. Kids should not be allowed to shrug after saying terrifying things. That's where people go at night. Technically true. Emotionally unacceptable. I sat beside him. Your dad didn't tell me where he was going. Noah absorbed this without surprise. That bothered me. His gaze wandered toward the refrigerator, where Ryan had arranged an entire week of Noah's life in color-coded blocks. School, dentist, soccer, library, everything accounted for, everything controlled. Beside the calendar was a photograph turned face down against the refrigerator with a small magnet holding it there. I noticed it earlier. I told myself not to touch it. Naturally, my brain immediately developed an unhealthy obsession with it. Is Dad gone again? My attention snapped back to Noah. Again. There it was. One tiny word with entirely too much weight. What do you mean, buddy? Noah stared at his dinosaur blanket. When he goes away and doesn't tell me. Something tightened beneath my ribs. Before I could ask anything else, headlights swept across the living room wall. Noah launched off the couch. Dad, the front door opened. Ryan stepped inside looking like the night had chewed him up and reconsidered swallowing. His shirt was still damp. His face had gone pale, and there was a small streak of dried blood across one knuckle. I was on my feet immediately. What happened? Noah reached him first. Ryan dropped to one knee and caught his son against his chest. The change in him was instant. Shoulders loosening, eyes closing, one hand cradling the back of Noah's head like he needed physical proof that the kid was there. I'm okay, Ryan whispered. You were gone forever. I know. You said 20 minutes. Ryan opened his eyes. For half a second, guilt moved across his face so nakedly that I looked away. I know, buddy. I'm sorry. Noah inspected him with grave suspicion. Then he touched Ryan's injured hand. You're bleeding. It's nothing. Of course. The official slogan of emotionally constipated men everywhere. Ryan got Noah settled upstairs before returning to the kitchen. I was waiting, arms crossed, full disappointed parent posture. Ryan stopped. What? Oh, absolutely not. His eyebrows lifted. You disappear for 3 hours, ignore every call, return looking like Batman lost a custody battle. And your opening statement is what? Something almost happened to his mouth. Almost. I'm sorry. Where were you? His expression closed immediately. There he was. Ryan Carter. Human locked door. It was personal. I hated how much that answer disappointed me. Not because he owed me an explanation. He didn't. But 3 hours ago, he had placed the most important person in his world into my arms. For one stupid moment, I thought that meant he trusted me. Right. I grabbed my jacket. Ethan. I stopped. Ryan stood beneath the warm kitchen light, exhaustion carving shadows beneath his eyes. Thank you for staying. I looked toward the stairs. You asked. No, his voice softened. I mean, thank you for staying when I didn't come back. That landed somewhere inconvenient. I shoved my hands into my pockets. Anytime. The word escaped before I could examine it. Ryan did. He looked at me for a long moment. Then his gaze dropped. Good night, Ethan. I made it halfway to the door before noticing something on the counter. 3 lunch containers. 1 for Ryan, 1 for Noah, and beside them, a third empty container. I stared at it. Probably nothing. Definitely nothing. I went home. The next morning, at exactly 7:12, someone knocked. I opened the door expecting Ryan. Instead, Noah stood there wearing a backpack shaped like a rocket. He held up a broken cardboard planet. Dad says we shouldn't bother you. I blinked. And Noah leaned closer. I think Dad is wrong. Behind him, Ryan stood on his porch with 2 coffees in his hands. And for the first time since I'd met him, he was smiling. The first mistake was fixing Noah's cardboard Saturn. The second was accepting Ryan's coffee. The third was thinking either of those things would remain isolated incidents. By Friday afternoon, I had somehow become the Carter household's unofficial emergency department for problems ranging from my rocket lost a wing to Dad doesn't know how to draw a T-Rex. For the record, Ryan absolutely could not draw a T-Rex. It looked like an angry chicken with tax problems. That's supposed to be a dinosaur? I asked. Ryan glanced down at the paper on his kitchen table. Yes. Ryan, it has elbows. Dinosaurs had elbows. Not 6 of them. Across from us, Noah dissolved into giggles. Ryan gave me that expression again. The one that said I was exhausting. The tiny curve at the corner of his mouth said he didn't entirely hate it. That was becoming a problem. A very broad-shouldered, gray-eyed problem who had apparently discovered smiling sometime after age 34. It started innocently. Tuesday, Ryan's babysitter canceled, so I picked Noah up from school. Wednesday, Noah appeared at my door because his model rocket required professional artistic consultation. I was an illustrator. Apparently, that qualified me for NASA. Thursday became spaghetti night because Ryan made too much sauce. He absolutely had not made too much sauce. I knew this because when I arrived, there were 3 plates already on the table. I chose not to mention it. Ryan chose not to explain it. Noah chose violence. Dad cleaned before you came. Ryan nearly dropped the Parmesan. Noah. What? You said we clean when company comes. I always clean. Noah looked at me. I looked at Noah. We both looked at the spotless kitchen. Sure, I said. Ryan pointed the Parmesan at me. Eat your food. Terrifying. I was devastated. Somewhere between spaghetti and Noah explaining why Jupiter could beat every other planet in a fist fight, something shifted. Not dramatically. That would have been easier. It happened in stupid little pieces. Ryan started leaving the porch light on when he knew I was coming over. I learned Noah hated peas, but would eat broccoli if you called them tiny trees. Ryan learned I took too much sugar in my coffee. Then one morning, he handed me a cup without asking. Perfect. I stared at it. What? Nothing. You're staring. You remembered. Ryan's eyes flicked toward mine. It's coffee, Ethan. Right. Coffee. Totally normal neighbor behavior. My heart needed professional supervision. Saturday morning brought the next disaster. Ryan's phone rang while we were helping Noah construct a solar system in the backyard. He answered, listened, and immediately went still. I understand. There was that voice. The closed one. The Ryan from the rainy night. He ended the call. I have to go into work. Noah's shoulders dropped. But we're doing Mars. I know, buddy. Ryan rubbed the back of his neck, already looking guilty. I hated that expression on him. So apparently my mouth decided to interfere with my life. I can finish Mars. Ryan looked at me. You don't have to. I'm aware. Ethan, Ryan. I handed him his keys. Go. He didn't take them immediately. His fingers finally closed around the key ring, brushing mine. There it was again. That stupid microscopic contact. That stupid warmth. That stupid awareness that lasted several seconds longer than skin touching skin had any legal right to. Thank you, he murmured. No joke this time. Any time. Again. That word. Ryan noticed it again, too. Then Noah yelled, Ethan. Mars is bleeding. We both turned. Red paint was pouring across the patio. Oh, fantastic. Ryan actually laughed. Not the almost smile. Not the tiny exhale through his nose. A real laugh. Low and warm and startlingly soft. I forgot about Mars. I forgot about paint. For one ridiculous second, I forgot how breathing worked. Then Ryan caught me staring. The laugh faded, but the warmth didn't. Something quiet passed between us. Something neither of us named. He left 5 minutes later. That evening, Ryan returned to find Noah asleep on the couch, red paint on his cheek, while I sat on the floor surrounded by 9 aggressively inaccurate planets. He stopped in the doorway. His gaze moved from Noah to me, to the half-eaten pizza on the table. His expression became strangely unreadable. What? I whispered. Ryan shook his head. Nothing. But he kept looking. And somehow, standing in the warm mess of his living room, I understood something dangerous. I wasn't helping anymore. I was becoming part of the routine. And judging by the way Ryan quietly set his keys down instead of asking me to leave, I wasn't the only one who had noticed. The first time I realized Ryan Carter was terrible at taking care of himself, he was standing in his kitchen at 6:30 in the morning trying to make Noah's lunch with a fever of 102. 4. You're an idiot. Ryan blinked at me. Slowly. Painfully. Good morning to you too. No. You've lost good morning privileges. I took the knife out of his hand. He stared at his empty fingers like I had personally violated the Constitution. I'm fine. You're sweating. It's warm. It's November. Ryan opened his mouth. I pressed my palm against his forehead. Bad idea. Not because he wasn't burning up. He absolutely was. Bad because Ryan went completely still beneath my hand. And suddenly I became painfully aware of his warm skin, messy dark hair, sleepy gray eyes, and the fact that I was standing approximately 4 inches from a man I had been trying very hard not to develop feelings for. My heart performed a small, humiliating backflip. Fever, I announced, pulling away. Ryan cleared his throat. I have work. You have influenza. It's probably a cold. You look like death wearing sweatpants. From the table, Noah looked up from his cereal. Dad threw up. Ryan closed his eyes. Traitor. Noah continued eating. You said lying is bad. I like this kid. 20 minutes later, Ryan was in bed under direct threat of violence. Noah had been delivered to school, and I had somehow taken control of the Carter household. Again, this was getting suspicious. I returned with medicine, soup, crackers, and the kind of determination usually reserved for hostage negotiations. Ryan was asleep. Actually asleep. Not dozing on the couch while answering emails. Not resting with one eye open. Asleep. Without all that control holding his face together, he looked younger. Softer. Human. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. Ryan's hand moved automatically beneath the blanket. I grabbed it first. No, his eyes opened. Ethan. That's me. Phone. Absolutely not. I need to. You need to stop behaving like civilization collapses when Ryan Carter takes a nap. His jaw tightened. I have responsibilities. So does everyone. You don't understand. That hit harder than it should have. Maybe because I was standing in his bedroom holding medicine I'd bought after packing his son's lunch and driving Noah to school. I set the phone down. You're right. Ryan immediately looked regretful. I turned toward the door. Ethan. No, it's fine. His fingers closed around my wrist. Everything stopped. Not hard. Not demanding. Just warm fingers around my skin. Wait. I looked down. Ryan seemed surprised by his own hand. So was every functioning organ in my body. His thumb rested against my pulse, which was unfortunate because my pulse had apparently decided to confess everything. Ryan slowly released me. I didn't mean it like that. Then how did you mean it? Silence stretched between us. His eyes dropped. I don't know how to let someone else handle things. There it was. Not a confession. Something smaller. Somehow more intimate. I sat on the edge of the bed. You could practice. Ryan gave me a tired look. With you? Obviously. I'm extremely qualified. You burned toast yesterday. That toaster is vindictive. A weak laugh escaped him. Victory. I handed him the medicine. He took it without arguing. By afternoon, the fever had dropped. I made soup. Ryan complained about the amount of salt. I threatened to pour it on him. He ate 2 bowls. When Noah came home, he climbed carefully onto the bed and told Ryan about school while I cleaned the kitchen. Domestic. That was the dangerous word. It felt domestic. Too easy. Too warm. At some point, Ryan fell asleep again. Noah was building something on the living room floor. I sat beside Ryan's bed answering emails on my laptop, mostly because leaving felt strangely wrong. An hour later, my eyes betrayed me. When I woke, evening light had turned the room gold. My neck hurt. My laptop had gone dark, and there was a blanket over me. I frowned. Ryan was awake. He was lying on his side, watching me. You covered me? You looked cold. You're the sick one. So, I smiled. Ryan didn't. His gaze stayed on me with an intensity that made the room suddenly feel smaller. You do too much for us, he said quietly. Us. Not Noah. Us. Maybe I want to. Something shifted in his expression. Fear. Not of me. Of wanting to believe me. I stood before I did something reckless, like touch his face. I should go. I made it 2 steps. His fingers found my wrist again. This time neither of us pretended it was accidental. Ryan's grip loosened after a second. But he didn't let go. And neither did I. People keep thinking you're my dad too. Noah said it while eating a blue cupcake. Naturally. Because apparently life-changing emotional grenades were best delivered by 6-year-olds with frosting on their noses. I nearly inhaled my lemonade. Across the picnic table, Ryan froze. What? Noah licked frosting from his thumb. At school. It was family day, which I had somehow been tricked into attending through a highly sophisticated manipulation strategy involving Noah standing on my porch and saying, "Everyone else brings their family." I had lasted 11 seconds. Ryan had lasted 8. So there we were, together, at an elementary school field covered in balloons, folding tables, screaming children, and enough homemade cookies to destabilize a small economy. Ryan sat beside me in a navy button-down with the sleeves rolled to his elbows. I had spent 45 minutes pretending not to notice his forearms. I was losing. "Who thinks that?" Ryan asked carefully. "Mrs. Campbell." Ryan's shoulders tightened. "And Tyler." Noah took another bite. "And Tyler's mom." "Okay." "And the lunch lady." I coughed into my fist. Ryan looked at me. "Don't." I didn't say anything. "Your face did." "My face is innocent." "Your face has never been innocent." That shut me up. Mostly because Ryan apparently knew enough about my face now to insult it accurately. That felt suspiciously intimate. A woman approached our table carrying a clipboard. "Mr. Carter?" Ryan stood. She smiled at Noah, then at me. "And you must be Noah's other dad." Silence. Oh, there it was. The sentence. Ryan's expression emptied. I immediately stood. "Actually, I'm not yet," Noah said. I stopped. The woman blinked. Ryan stopped breathing. Possibly forever. Noah continued eating his cupcake like he hadn't just detonated the emotional equivalent of a nuclear device. The woman recovered first. "Well," her smile became painfully cheerful. "I'll let you gentlemen enjoy the afternoon." She escaped. Coward. I stared at Noah. Ryan stared at Noah. Noah stared at the remaining cupcake. "What?" he asked. Ryan rubbed both hands over his face. I turned away because laughing seemed medically dangerous. "Ethan, I'm not laughing. You're shaking. I'm having a neurological event." Later, Noah dragged us into a three-legged race. This required Ryan's left ankle to be tied to my right. Whoever invented this activity hated adults with unresolved attraction. "Stop pulling," Ryan muttered. "You're walking too fast. You have longer legs. You're taller than me. Then keep up." "We're literally attached, Ryan." His arm wrapped around my waist to steady me. My brain immediately resigned. We stumbled across the field, Noah screaming encouragement while I became catastrophically aware of Ryan's palm against my side. We lost. Badly. Noah declared us champions anyway. By sunset, the crowd thinned. Noah fell asleep in the car on the 5-minute drive home, exhausted from sugar and social warfare. Ryan carried him inside. I waited on the porch. I should have gone home. Instead, I watched moths circle the porch light until Ryan came back outside. For a while, neither of us spoke. "That was nice," I said. Ryan leaned against the railing. "It was high praise." I smiled. Then his eyes found mine. The humor disappeared. The space between us suddenly felt smaller. Ryan stepped closer. Not much. Enough. My pulse climbed into my throat. His gaze dropped to my mouth. Oh, this was happening. I leaned forward. Ryan did too. His fingers brushed mine against the railing. Then he stopped. Completely. His face changed. Not disgust. Not regret. Fear. "I can't." The words were barely audible. I swallowed. "Okay." Ryan looked away. "I'm sorry. You don't have to apologize. You don't understand." There was that sentence again. This time it hurt more. I stepped back. Ryan's hand caught mine. "Ethan." I looked at him. His eyes were shining beneath the porch light. I can't let Noah lose someone again. Everything inside me went quiet. Not me. Noah. Ryan released my hand. For the first time, I understood that whatever wall stood between us hadn't been built to keep Ryan safe. It had been built around his son. And suddenly I remembered the face-down photograph. The midnight disappearance. Noah asking, "Is Dad gone again?" Pieces. Pieces of something Ryan had never told me. Before I could ask, Noah called sleepily from inside. "Dad." Ryan turned immediately. Of course he did. He always would. He looked back at me once. "Good night, Ethan." Then the door closed. I stood beneath the porch light alone, staring at the place where Ryan had almost kissed me. And for the first time since this started, I wasn't wondering whether Ryan wanted me. I knew he did. The question was what had happened to make wanting someone feel so dangerous. The photograph had been bothering me for 3 weeks. Not constantly. I was a functioning adult. I had work. Bills. Deadlines. I absolutely did not spend unreasonable amounts of time wondering why Ryan Carter kept a photograph face down on his refrigerator like it contained classified government secrets. Then Noah ruined everything. Again, we were making pancakes Sunday morning because Ryan had been called into work for 2 hours, and apparently I lived here now. Not officially. My toothbrush remained next door. But Ryan had bought my coffee creamer. Draw your own conclusions. Noah climbed onto a chair to reach the syrup. His elbow hit the refrigerator. The photograph fell. Face up. I saw Ryan first. Younger. Maybe 25. He stood beside another man who looked enough like him that my brain immediately supplied the answer. Brother. Between them was a baby. Noah. My chest tightened. Who's that? Noah looked down. His entire face changed. That's Daniel. The name meant nothing. The sadness did. My first dad. Everything stopped. The pancake hissed behind me. I turned off the stove. Your first dad? Noah nodded. Dad Ryan is my uncle. Oh. Suddenly the room felt too quiet. Noah picked up the photograph carefully. Daniel went to heaven when I was little. I crouched beside him. I'm sorry, buddy. He shrugged, but his fingers tightened around the frame. I don't remember him much. The front door opened. Why does it smell like something's burning? Ryan walked into the kitchen. Then he saw the photograph. He stopped. Not slowed. Stopped. Noah looked at him. I dropped it. Ryan's eyes moved to me. I could practically watch every wall slam back into place. Noah, go wash your hands. But, please. Noah obeyed. The moment he disappeared upstairs, Ryan took the photograph from the counter and turned it face down. Again. You didn't tell me. Ryan's jaw tightened. It wasn't your business. That hurt. I hated that it hurt. No, it wasn't. He closed his eyes. Ethan, why hide it? I wasn't hiding it. You literally keep the picture face down. His shoulders dropped. For once, he looked tired rather than guarded. Because Noah asks questions when he sees it. What questions? Ryan was silent. Then, quietly, whether Daniel knew he was going to die. My anger disappeared. Ryan sat at the table. I sat across from him. Daniel was my younger brother, he said. 27. Loud. Reckless. Annoying. A tiny smile appeared. He could make friends standing in an elevator. Sounds terrible. Ryan almost laughed. He was. Then the smile vanished. There was an accident. I didn't ask what kind. Ryan's hands folded together. Noah was 18 months old. And his mother? Not involved. Daniel was raising him alone. So you. I became his guardian. Simple words. An entire life inside them. Ryan looked toward the stairs. The first few months, Noah kept waking up crying. He'd stand in his crib and call for Daniel. His voice cracked. Barely. It still destroyed me. I couldn't bring him back. Ryan. I couldn't fix it. Of course. There it was. The man who fixed everything. The lunches. The schedules. The perfect house. The desperate need to control every possible disaster. Because once, the worst thing imaginable had happened, and there had been absolutely nothing he could do. Then I understood the porch. I can't let Noah lose someone again. You're afraid I'll leave. Ryan looked at me. I'm afraid he'll love you. That landed harder. And then you'll realize this is too much. His voice stayed calm. His eyes didn't. You'll want weekends without school projects. Trips without babysitters. A relationship that doesn't come with a 6-year-old asking whether you're coming home. I leaned forward. You decided all that for me? I'm trying to protect him. From me. From losing you. Silence. There it was. Not rejection. Not exactly. Ryan was terrified of an ending that hadn't happened. I reached across the table. My fingers covered his. He stared at them. I'm already attached to him. Ryan's eyes closed. And that, he whispered, is exactly what scares me. Footsteps sounded upstairs. We separated before Noah entered. Ryan stood. The moment was over. But the truth wasn't. Because now I finally understood the quiet man next door. Ryan hadn't built walls because he was afraid someone would break his heart. He had built them because years ago, he'd held a grieving little boy and made himself a promise. Noah would never have to survive being left behind again. And somehow, without meaning to, I had become the one person capable of breaking that promise. The cruel thing about doing the right thing is that sometimes it feels exactly like doing the wrong one. So I stopped going over. Not dramatically. I didn't announce it. I didn't stand in the rain and deliver a heartbreaking speech while violins played somewhere nearby. I simply became busy. Monday, I had a deadline. Tuesday, groceries. Wednesday, I invented an urgent relationship with my laundry. By Thursday, Even my washing machine knew I was a coward. Ryan didn't ask. That was the worst part. Our little accidental routine disappeared almost overnight. No coffee waiting on his porch. No Noah knocking with a broken planet. No spaghetti dinners. No Ryan standing in my kitchen doorway pretending he hadn't come over just because he wanted company. I told myself this was what Ryan wanted. Space. Safety. A clean boundary around Noah's heart. Very mature. Very responsible. Absolutely miserable. Friday afternoon, I saw Noah getting out of Ryan's truck. He spotted me immediately. Ethan. My entire chest betrayed me. Hey, astronaut. He ran toward me, backpack bouncing. Are you sick? No. Are you mad at Dad? Ryan had reached us. Noah. What? He doesn't come over anymore. Children. Tiny prosecutors with no respect for emotional privacy. I crouched. I've just been busy. Noah narrowed his eyes. He had Ryan's exact suspicious expression. Terrifying. You said adults lie more politely than kids. I had said that. Unfortunately. Ryan looked at me. I looked at the sidewalk. Noah sighed like both of us were exhausting. Can you come see Jupiter? My throat tightened. I can't tonight, buddy. The disappointment on his face lasted maybe 2 seconds. That was enough. Oh, Ryan put a hand on his shoulder. Come on. Noah walked toward their house. Ryan stayed. For one dangerous second, we were alone. You don't have to avoid him. I'm not. Ethan. There were approximately 8,000 ways he could say my name. That one meant don't lie to me. I shoved my hands into my jacket. You were right. His expression shifted. About what? He's attached. Ryan went still. And I'm attached too. The words hurt coming out. So maybe some distance is smart. I didn't ask you to disappear. No. You just told me exactly what you were afraid would happen. Ryan looked toward his house. Through the window, Noah was holding up a painted planet. Waiting. My chest cracked neatly in half. I'm trying not to make things harder, I said. Ryan laughed once. There was nothing funny in it. Congratulations. I looked at him. You made them harder. Then he walked away. That night, his porch light stayed on. It had become stupidly familiar. A warm yellow square outside my bedroom window. I worked until midnight. Looked over. Still on. At 1, still on. For the next several days, Ryan and I became experts at almost speaking. A nod at the mailbox. Away from the driveway. Once, he left a package on my porch. No note. I stared at it for 5 full minutes like it might confess feelings. It did not. Inside my house, everything felt too quiet. I had never noticed the silence before Ryan and Noah. Now it had weight. Sunday evening, I accidentally made enough pasta for 3 people. I stood over the pot in horror. Oh, pathetic. I ate alone. Across the lawn, 3 chairs were visible through Ryan's kitchen window. Only 2 were occupied. The third remained empty. Mine. I hated that I knew that. I hated more that Ryan hadn't moved it. At 10:16, I looked toward his house. The porch light was on. At 10:43, still on. I fell asleep on the couch. When I woke, the room was dark. 2:08 a.m. Something felt wrong. I sat up. For a moment, I couldn't understand what had changed. Then I looked through the window. Ryan's house stood completely dark. The porch light was off. My stomach dropped. Maybe the bulb burned out. Maybe Ryan remembered electricity cost money. Maybe I had finally lost my mind and assigned emotional significance to outdoor lighting. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Hello. Is this Ethan Miller? A woman's voice. Professional. Calm. Yes. This is St. Matthew's Hospital. Everything inside me stopped. We have Ryan Carter here. I was already reaching for my keys. What happened? He collapsed at work. My hand froze on the doorknob. Is he okay? A pause. Not long. Long enough. He's stable. I closed my eyes. Then she said the words that sent me running into the night. Mr. Carter asked us to call you. He asked for you before he asked what happened. The nurse said it like that was normal. It was not normal. Nothing about sprinting through a hospital at 2:30 in the morning wearing mismatched socks and yesterday's sweatshirt qualified as normal. Ryan Carter? Room 314. I reached the door and stopped. Because apparently my body had enough survival instinct to panic before entering. Ryan was lying beneath white sheets, and 4 taped to his hand, his face pale against the pillow. Alive. Breathing. Annoyingly handsome despite looking like he'd lost a fistfight with exhaustion. Relief hit so hard my knees nearly filed a complaint. His eyes opened. Ethan. That voice. Quiet. Rough. Mine somehow. I crossed the room. You absolute idiot. Ryan blinked. Hello. You collapsed. So I've been told. At work. Yes. After having a fever last week. I recovered. You recovered the way a building recovers when someone paints over the cracks. His mouth twitched. I hated him. I wanted to hug him. Both feelings were becoming alarmingly compatible. What did the doctor say? Exhaustion. Dehydration. Stress. Congratulations. You collected the entire emotionally unavailable single dad starter pack. Ryan actually smiled. Then it disappeared. Where's Noah? With Claire, Daniel's old friend. He's safe. Of course that was his first concern. Always Noah. I pulled the chair beside his bed and sat. For several minutes, machines filled the silence. Beep. Breath. Beep. Breath. Proof that Ryan was still here. Finally, I looked at him. Why me? His eyes shifted toward the window. No, Ryan. I'm tired. Convenient. You're literally hospitalized for it. His fingers curled against the blanket. The nurse said you asked for me. Silence. Why? Ryan stared at the ceiling. When I woke up, I didn't know where I was. His voice had changed. Softer. And for a second, I thought about Noah waking up and finding me gone. My anger evaporated. I thought about Daniel. I said nothing. And then I thought about you. There it was. My heart stopped being useful. Ryan swallowed. That scared me more. Why? His laugh was small and broken. Because I knew you'd come. I leaned back. That's supposed to be scary? For me. His eyes met mine. Yes. The room went very still. Ryan looked exhausted enough that the truth seemed to be slipping through cracks he normally kept sealed. I've spent years making sure I don't need anyone. I noticed. I can handle Noah. Work. The house. Everything. You collapsed beside a photocopier. It was a printer. Thank God. That changes everything. A breath of laughter escaped him. Then his eyes became wet. My jokes died instantly. I asked you to help with Noah that first night, because asking for him was easier. I frowned. Easier than what? Ryan looked directly at me, admitting I needed you. Oh, every ridiculous moment rearranged itself. The coffee, the third plate, the porch light, his fingers around my wrist. That almost kiss. I reached for his hand. This time Ryan didn't hesitate. His fingers closed around mine. I don't know how to need someone, he whispered, without waiting for them to disappear. My thumb moved over his knuckles, then stopped trying to know. He frowned. Very profound. I'm an illustrator. Lower your expectations. Another tiny smile. I leaned closer. You don't have to ask me for forever, Ryan. His eyes searched mine. Ask me for tomorrow. Something in his face broke. Not badly. Like a locked door finally opening. Tomorrow, he whispered. I can do tomorrow. His grip tightened. I stayed until sunrise. Ryan slept. I didn't. I sat beside him with our hands still loosely connected, watching pale morning light creep across the hospital floor. For weeks, I had thought Ryan's greatest fear was losing someone. I had been wrong. His greatest fear was surviving the loss. Again. And maybe loving him wasn't about promising that nothing bad would ever happen. Maybe it was simpler. Showing up. Staying through the ugly parts. Being there when the porch light went dark. Ryan stirred as morning reached the window. His fingers tightened around mine before his eyes even opened. And I understood. The quiet single dad next door had asked me for help, but it had never really been about babysitting. He had been asking, in every way he knew how. Please stay. This time, I finally knew how to answer. I stayed. 3 days after Ryan collapsed, I drove him home from the hospital and discovered that nearly dying of exhaustion had taught him absolutely nothing. I can carry my own bag. No, Ethan. Doctor said rest. He didn't say I couldn't carry 8 pounds. You waited. Ryan stared at me. I stared back. From the back seat, Noah sighed. You guys fight like married people. Silence. Ryan looked out the window. I nearly drove onto the sidewalk. Noah, Ryan said. What? Nothing. Children should come with warning labels. We pulled into the driveway just before sunset. Noah escaped the car first and sprinted toward the house. Ryan moved slower. Still pale. Still tired. Still apparently determined to prove he possessed functional legs. I stayed beside him without touching. That was something I was learning. Helping Ryan didn't always mean grabbing him before he fell. Sometimes it meant walking close enough that he knew I would. Inside, Claire had stocked the refrigerator. Noah immediately began explaining the elaborate medical procedure he intended to perform on Ryan using a plastic stethoscope and 3 dinosaur stickers. I made dinner. Ryan complained. I ignored him. Normal had never felt so precious. By 8:30, Noah was asleep sideways across the couch, one sock missing, his rocket backpack somehow serving as a pillow. Ryan stood in the doorway watching him. He missed you. I missed him. I waited. Ryan looked at me. And you? There went my cardiovascular system. Oh, excellent response. Poetry. Ryan's mouth curved. You're terrible at this. At what? Being confessed to. That was a confession? He looked suddenly nervous. And because apparently I enjoyed suffering, I smiled. Relax. I'm kidding. You're awful. You like me. His eyes held mine. Yes. No joke. No escape hatch. Just yes. The room went quiet. Ryan walked toward me. One step. Then another. I remembered the porch. The almost kiss. The fear in his face. This time he stopped close enough that I could feel his breath. I'm still scared, he admitted. I know. I can't promise I'll suddenly be good at this. I'd be suspicious if you were. I'll probably push you away sometimes. I'll probably annoy you constantly. You already do. See? We're prepared. Ryan laughed softly. Then his fingers touched my cheek. Careful. Like he was asking a question. I answered by leaning into his palm. His forehead rested against mine. No fireworks. No dramatic music. Just warmth. Breath. Ryan. Could you stay tonight? He whispered. My heart squeezed. Because you need help? He pulled back just enough to look at me. No, a pause. Because I want you here. There it was. The difference. I smiled. Okay. Ryan kissed me. Softly. Almost cautiously. Like he had spent years believing happiness was something that disappeared if you held it too tightly. My hand curled into his shirt. His thumb brushed my jaw. The second kiss lasted longer. Still gentle. Still Ryan. When we separated, Noah's sleepy voice floated from the couch. Finally, we jumped apart. I stared at him. His eyes were still closed. Ryan turned bright red. I laughed so hard I nearly died. Go to sleep, Ryan muttered. I am asleep. Then stop talking. Okay, Dad. A pause. Good job, Ethan. I covered my face. Ryan threatened to send him to boarding school. Noah giggled. Later, after we tucked him into bed, I grabbed my jacket. Habit. Ryan followed me to the porch. My house stood 12 steps away. Funny. Once, 12 steps had been the entire distance between our lives. Now they felt unnecessary. I should grab some clothes, I said. Ryan nodded. Neither of us moved. The porch light glowed above us. The same light I had watched night after night. Waiting. Worrying. Wondering. I crossed the lawn, grabbed a bag, and returned. Ryan was still standing there, waiting for me. When I reached the porch, he switched off the light. Darkness settled softly around us. For 1 second, I remembered the night it had gone dark before. The panic. The hospital. The terrible thought that Ryan might not come home. But this darkness felt different. Warm. Safe. Finished. Ryan took my hand. Inside, Noah had left 3 mugs on the kitchen table. 3. Of course he had. I looked at Ryan. So what happens tomorrow? His fingers tightened around mine. Breakfast. That's your grand romantic plan? I'm recovering. Fair. He smiled. Then he opened the door. I stepped inside. Months ago, the quiet single dad next door had knocked on my door and asked me for 20 minutes of help. 20 minutes became coffee. Coffee became dinners. Dinners became a third chair. Somewhere along the way, helping became staying. And staying became home. Behind us, Ryan closed the door. The porch light remained off. Not because nobody was coming back. Because tonight, nobody was waiting anymore.